What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Arch, coming at you with a brand new series of videos, this time focused on character creation, the basic skill of a role player. This is the starting point from which all your role play is going to come from. If you can build a good character for you to role play in a game, and you role play it well in a game, you have the tools necessary to DM already. Just good job, you've done it. Congratulations. Now all you have to do is start DMing. I mean, there's a whole other series of hurdles there, but you know, this is the foundation. This is the basics. So, you know, as they say in all training, you know, focus on your basics, learn your basics. And so, you know, I'm not trying to profess that I'm some kind of master at this. Far from it. You know, I have no formal training in storytelling or writing or anything like that. You know, everything I know is just from assimilating media and from playing characters and interacting with characters and interacting with people in real life, man. That's when you break it down to its barest form, you're making a person who should exist somewhere in reality. Not this reality, obviously, because, you know, we're not in a fucking role-playing game, baby. This is real life. But you're making a whole fucking person. Unless you're making a 3-year-old, they should have layers of depth that are fucking very deep because they're a person. Even if they're a shallow person, they still have layers of depth to them. They just deny what that means to them as a person. I mean, that's a whole other character in and of itself. I mean, you can build that motherfucker too. Okay, but anyways, this first video is going to be just basics. It's not going to be... it might have a little bit of Star Wars in it, but it's not going to be system specific. So this can be used for any system. It's just basics of making a dude that you can take into a game, and you know how to do that and make it fun and easy and work well. So the first thing, the way I always start personally, is I pick one thing. I find one thing that I want to have as the core of my character. Another way you could I think of it as picking one thing, but another way you could possibly think of it, if you don't want to just, you know, pick one thing, is ask yourself, or ask your character, ask of this character that you're creating, who are you? Okay? What would they answer? That's where you start. Okay, so let's just take an example. If you picked Luke at the beginning of the movies, he'd probably say, I'm a pilot, because that's what he loved to do. He loved to fix stuff and fly stuff around. He liked to go fast. Okay, so he would say, you know, he wouldn't say farmer. You know, he might have some farming skills because he farms that water, baby. He helps Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen get that water. But his passion is flying. You know, that's what he likes to do. He's good at it. So I mean, you can start from there. That's a starting point for you to start building out this person that you're pulling out of the ether of your imagination. Okay, so that's where I usually start. I ask myself, you know, what is the one thing? What is the concept of this character? What is the one thing maybe in the system, or the one idea that I have that I can latch onto and build? What's the seed? What am I going to build the character around? What is the character going to grow out of? His love or passion, or this whatever thing it may be. It may be a species. You know, maybe you're playing, I don't know, I haven't played that many systems, to be honest, y'all, but maybe you're playing basic D&D and you've never played an orc, or you've never played a dragonborn. And you're like, well, you know, I want to try that. I want to really get to the core of this one person who is of this species, you know, and how does that species color me? So, you know, if that's your one thing, if you pick that, you know, I would say, you know, people get scared when you say the word, but I say go for stereotypes, because you can wrap your brain around them. Stereotypes exist for a reason, because it's a common thing. It's something that people have experienced. Maybe you have experienced, so it makes sense in reality. That's why it's a fucking stereotype. I mean, you don't have to make it comical in its ridiculousness. You don't have to take it to the level of stereotype where it's a parody. But, you know, you inform your decisions based on what is normal, based on the norms for that character, that species, the stereotypes of whatever the thing is you picked. Okay? If you picked if you want to play a high intelligence character, maybe you want to play like a wizard or something, or a consular. So, you know, how does having high intelligence color your character? It can you know, spin off into many different facets and parts of your character. It can be the base from which everything goes. Okay, so that'll be a nice way to move into the next topic that I like to really help me to focus down on who a character is and what they're good at, and that's their job. You know, what do they do, or what did they do in the world before they're presumably adventuring or whatever you're doing in the game. In the case of Star Wars, obviously, if you're playing a Jedi, which is what the series is mostly about, you probably came from the temple and you don't have a job, so that's a little bit easier. You're a monk, basically. But how you can flavor that is, what is your field of study in the temple? So, I mean, you have that already. Don't think that you don't have, just because you don't go somewhere and get paid money for doing that one task, doesn't mean you don't have a job. I mean, Jedis have paths that they follow. So, I mean, you can think of it like that. But anyways, you know, what is your job? What do you do? And denote that on your skill sheet. Nothing breaks my heart more than to see a character in D&D or anything like that that has no profession or job skill. I mean, unless your backstory says, you know, I'm a mercenary, or, you know, unless your backstory has a reason why you don't have a fucking job, you don't do anything. Like, well, who are you? Well, how do you exist in this place? That's my question for you as a GM. I'm like, well, I mean, what are you, just that enigma? So, you know, the next question, the one thing I'm going to be stressing this main point throughout all these videos, and it's very important right here as we talk about skills and your job, because you need to make everything on your sheet have a story purpose in your, not necessarily you don't have to come out and explain it to everybody and take the GM's time. And maybe if he is the type of GM who likes that and is like, yeah, man, go ahead and tell me everything you come up with. Cool, I mean, tell him that. This is for you personally, so you can portray the character effectively, okay? You need to think about, this needs to be a choice that you as the player made for the character, so that when you're playing the character, you know, you can make his choices based off all his previous choices like you do as a person. It's easy for you because you are you. But when you're playing somebody else, you have to think about everything differently. Completely differently. Because they're fucking not you. Unless you made a character that's supposed to be you with these few different aspects, which is cool, man. That's a fun, flavorful thing to do. Maybe you're doing that. That's fine. It's easier than to roleplay. And maybe that's where you start always. Because you know how to play someone who's similar to yourself. So yeah, I like to play characters who are loquacious. Because I like to bullshit like that. That's my fun way of bullshit, pretty much always. So I build that into my characters. I don't like to play characters who aren't that, because then I have to pretend to not, I have to not do that. And that's harder for me. I mean, that's a fun roleplay challenge. If I was doing a one-shot, and fuck yeah, I'm going to do that, because it's not that much pressure on me to always be switching my mindset so fully. So, you know, definitely take your personal viewpoints into account when you're making these characters. If it's so far removed from how you would ever think of anything, you know, be cognizant of that choice, because it's going to be harder for you to roleplay that. And you know, if you have too much trouble role playing it, maybe you need to scale those choices back. You know, if necessary, man, kill off the character. Go to the GM and be like, look, dude, I made these choices for this character. I was really overreaching. I can't do it. You know, maybe you're playing that wizard that you always wanted to play, but you never played one before. Now you're realizing, like, oh man, I can't keep track of all these spells. I never know what I'm supposed to be doing in battle. I have so many choices, I can never make the right choice. And I'm supposed to be playing this super intelligent wizard who, you know, he always knows the right choice because his intelligence is like a fucking 22 or whatever. Like, you know, some ridiculous, he's really, really smart. Obviously, if most of the role players out there, you may be very, very intelligent, especially if you're more on the autistic spectrum, because you know that's how it is. But most people who are out there interacting with lots of other individuals, we do that because we want to find people who are dumb like us. So sometimes it can be difficult to portray certain aspects of a character statistically that don't match to yourself personally. So when you make those choices and give those different characters those statistics, make sure that there's a reason behind them, and make sure that you have an idea how you're going to role play that. If you want to play something that you know that you're not going to be able to portray, like, okay, he has a 20 intelligence, I'm not smart, I'm not going to make that the central aspect of his character, but it's important, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. You can have a lot of other stuff on your character that makes the role play enriching for everyone. But just you need to bear that in mind. And whenever possible, play up the fact that, yes, I am super smart, even though I'm incapable of portraying someone who's super duper smart, because I'm not in actuality incredibly intelligent. So, keep that in mind. That was just an example. There's many other examples. Charisma, agility. If you've never been a gymnast, if you've never done any kind of body training on how to move fluidly, you wouldn't know how to convey that verbally, especially. I mean, you could try, and I guess I should say physically, especially, but especially, am I saying those words correctly? Anyways, the point is, always bear in mind, your stats do affect your role play. People don't want to hear that, but it's a fact. Make everything on your sheet count. This was very long. I went off on a huge tangent here. Everything on the sheet has a role play reason. And if it doesn't, know that it doesn't, and concede a defeat in your brain. Be like, oh man, I fucked that up, because I personally am incapable of doing that. That's straight. Accept it, move on. But know that you that's a failure. Everybody makes failures. Mistakes are something to be learned from and move on and grow from. So don't beat yourself up over it, but realize and that's what's up, dude. I'm sorry, I have the problem. I'm sure everybody has a problem. Don't feel bad about it, but that's how I feel. If you're incapable of portraying this person as he is supposed to be, that's a problem. Plain and simple. It's not the end of the world, but it's a fucking problem. So let's move along. I've taken way too long on this point because I find it very important. The next thing you want to do when you're making just a general character for any real system, who are your friends and your family? Okay, too many times I'll see characters who have no relations. You hear about it, it's shenanigans. Okay, shenanigans, or they'll have two. I have a mom and a dad. That's it, mom and a dad. Nobody taught me how to fight. Nobody taught me anything. I have no friends. I don't even have a pet. I have nothing. I have a mom and a dad, and they're dead. Or my dad's dead, and my mom is a slave woman, so we can't really fuck with her. She's nothing to us. We might as well just let her be. So, what? You better have something. There better be a kick-ass story reason for that. Give me something flavorful, and that drives your character to where, you're bringing it up. Oh, man, those fucking orcs attacked us on the prairie. My little home on the prairie, killed my mom and dad, left me for dead. Fuck a orc. I'm mad at orcs. I hate orcs. That shit's coming up because they killed the only people you knew. Nobody else. They're gone. That needs to come up. It's not just something that never gets mentioned. No one, dude. This group that you've somehow found are your only people. That needs to be a big deal. And that's the other thing. Collaborate, man. Work with your group. We're going to touch on that a lot more later, but the next, work with them. And the next point, and I'm just driving this home, this is basically the same point, but, don't be a fucking island. You're not an island. I just explained how you could be an island, make up a story and make it be a big deal, but don't do that. That's lame. Number one, it's lame. And number two, you're robbing yourself and your GM of storytelling that incorporates your character into the world. Okay? If you come at your GM and you're like, look, dude, I have, You know, I have the dude who taught me sword. I have him. I have my like homie, my fast friend. Maybe we trained together. Maybe we grew up together. Whatever reason, you have that. Okay. Some systems have these things built in, but if it's not built in, you build it in, because this is your character. This is a person that exists that you are fucking inhabiting. They have these aspects to them. You know, who do they know? Who are their friends? You don't have to go and build a whole friend. You know, have a name that you like, that you can remember, because you should remember your friend's name. That's the number one thing. Can you remember the fucking name? Pick a name you can remember. You got a friend or whatever, your parents, you know, they have a name. Pick their name. You know, pick their species and their sex, because that's moderately relevant. And good, you know, and say how you know them and what their relationship is to you. That's it. Leave the rest to the GM, because he's there to make up flavor for you, to add twists and turns to the story. You know, say like, that's my homie. We train together. Now, you know, we don't see each other anymore, so he can make up the intervening time. Like, okay, that's what's up. Or this is my parents. You know, I don't talk to them, or I do talk to them. You know, whatever. They live over there. I live over here. Okay, you need to answer the questions of you know, who, what, where, when, why, for the stuff on your sheet. Not all of the questions, just some of them. You know, add a little bit onto the different things to enrich your knowledge of, you know, the real life story of your character. People say backstory. Nah, man. Back of what? Like, but no, man, that's my life story. That's the story of the dude that you're playing, his whole fucking life. That's why it's not that important that you tell everybody in the fucking game. Because do you tell everybody you meet your life story? Fuck no. Fuck no, dude. But you know it. You know this shit that happened to you. It fucks with you all the time because it fucking happened to you. So, I mean, you need to know that as your character, okay? I mentioned it briefly, but, you know, a lot of times throughout the video I've mentioned it. Work with your GM and your group. Maybe that friend that I mentioned is one of your group members, if it works out story-wise. You know, work with your DM. When you start coming up with all this stuff, you know, before you write a thing, you know, a fucking whole sheet, or, you know, God forbid, multiple sheets of backstory for your dude, and try to start passing it off to people, ask the DM, be like, you know, dude, I have some ideas for my character. What would you want to hear about that? You know, and they'll tell you, you know, shoot me a paragraph, give me a sheet. You know, oh, just tell me right here. You know, what do you got? And then just give them two or three sentences, the basics. You know, what like I said, you know, who are you? If somebody asks you who you are, say that. You know, oh, I'm a mechanic. I fix stuff. And I'm like this race and this dude. You know, the basics, baby. But you know all the rest of that because you have all that in your head, like your character would. This video is going to be probably half an hour. It's creeping up long as fuck, but I mean, this series of videos is intended to really spark ideas. So, I mean, creativity takes time sometimes. So I guess that's what we're working with, man. Okay, so when you're working with them, you know, make sure that everybody is kind of agreed on what level of depth they're willing to hear from you. Because, you know, you have it, that's fine. But you don't have to give it to them. Just use that to color your role play. So, we're pretty much done. I have two sort of more points. I feel like I've sort of touched on one of them, and I've been beating around the other one. Maybe I've said it. But, okay. Just to drive home these points, man. This is the summary of the video. Make everything on your sheet have a story purpose. Okay? Obviously, the sex of your character doesn't have a story purpose except that, like, your parents made you. And not you know your parents, probably. Unless you're a Jedi, then your parents are the masters that have trained you, including Yoda and the random assortment of people you pick to have come in and taught you stuff. You know, but you have that, okay? I'm sorry. Oh, everything on the sheet. Everything on the sheet. Okay, so all your skills. Each point that you have has a story. You did that sometime in your life. Okay, if you learned how to make, profession Bowery, the one where you make bows, Bowery, bows thing. I don't know what the fucking word for making bows is. They don't have that anymore. So, anyways, if you studied under someone maybe let me not even go that far. You checked on your sheet knowledge history. Okay, did you find a book? Did you sit by some dude at the campfire for a long time hearing all these old ass stories? Where'd you get that? Think of just one little bit, one little flavor nugget. That way, when the skill is called upon, while you're searching through your sheet, trying to get it all together and add in all the right numbers and stuff, you can talk and say, oh, I think back to old Gray Leg and how he told me about whatever. You can add these little bits from the sheet, from every little thing that you have, to enrich the story and the role play. And when people hear that shit, they're like, oh damn, this dude is really creative. And you're like, no dude, I'm not thinking of any of that shit off the top of my head. I already made that shit up diligently a while ago when I made my dude, because he's a dude. He has everything about a dude. So everything on the fucking sheet. It doesn't have to be a paragraph or a page or a book. A sentence. Maybe a fucking just half a complete thought, baby. Put some flavor on everything in your sheet, and your character will build itself. That's what I'm saying. When you go in and check off all the boxes to make your guy, your character is built. Just story, the life story of your character's done. You don't need to be a writing master to fucking have a kick-ass story, because it's all there on the sheet. And maybe that's why I'm after the first 2 or 3 sessions in most of the games I'm GMing, if you have found a skill that you're like, man, I don't know why I have this. This makes no sense for my dude. I was just like, somebody said, oh, you should have this. And so I fucking checked the box. That's booty, and, switch it. Talk to somebody, be like, man, what's up with this, man? This is not my role play flavor. If it's come up in the game and you've used it, sorry, dude, you have that now. Like, it's canon. But if it's something that never got used because it doesn't make sense for your character, but you just switch it up, baby. That's cool, man. Don't do it behind anybody's back. Make sure everything is on the up and up. Talk to your GM. Some GMs will get real mad if you futz with your sheet between games. But, a good GM will say, has that come up in the game? Have the other players really been having to interact with you on that level, like you're doing that for the group? And we'll work with you. We'll make your character make more sense. And the final point that we've been sort of building and touching upon this entire time, the most crucial aspect of role-playing any character that you create for a game is you need to be a whole person. That's the life story shit I've been saying. It's not a backstory. We're not book characters here. We're not playing by text, okay? It's your life story. It's every single thing that's happened to you over however many years you put on that fucking sheet. Think about how much shit has happened to you as an individual over the lifetime of your life, over every single time of your life. That's a lot of stuff, baby. It adds up. It's crazy ridiculous. Crazy ridiculous. That's how old people, if you're young, maybe if you're like a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old watching this video, and you like met old people and like, man, how does he fucking know so much? Well, it's not that he's any smarter than you, dog. He's just been around so much fucking longer that he had time to absorb those little bits over time. So when you're role-playing someone of more or less experience than yourself, take that into account, man. You're a whole person, and you're a whole different person than who you are watching this video. You're that character that you built. So, that's the start. That's the basics of building and inhabiting and making a person. Let's switch it, man. Let's change the idea of character creation to person creation. I mean, you're a hero. You're the star of the fucking story, But, you know, celebrities are still people. They're just fucking people. The character that you made, while he may have grand effects on everything in the story world, he's still just one person. So, you know, think about that and build that into your guy, and he will resonate more powerfully with everyone and yourself, and he'll be more fun to play, more enriching. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me through this pretty long video. I guess we're creeping up on 25 minutes. Stay tuned. We're going to have 2 to 4, I guess, more episodes in this character creation series, which is a series inside of my roleplay guide series. I guess it'll probably get split out someday when I have a lot more videos. But for now, it's a series within a series. I hope you've gained a little bit of flavor knowledge, or just flavor nuggets that you can add into your roleplay to, like I said, man, enrich, improve, just make everybody's games a little bit higher tier, and make everybody's interactions in those games between players and GM just, oh wow, whoa, what? Like, oh, that was cool. Okay, like that's what you're going for with this. Like, you have that spark, that flavor that's like, oh, that was cool. So it's your boy Arch. I'll catch you guys later.